you can visit our website for the commands in the videos. If you want to purchase other study materials like packet tracer files and other course guidelines, then you can email to us. Follow us on Facebook for further updates. Please do like, share, comment and subscribe so I can quickly deliver more videos on various topics. The purpose of VLAN is you can have different network devices on same single switch. For example, let's say your first row switch is having accounts department devices, sales department devices and IT department devices. Likewise, your second row switch is also having accounts department, sales and IT. So by developing VLAN, you can communicate from your first row sales department to reach the second row sales department. Okay. So in case if you wanted to reach from first row sales department into second row accounts department or IT department, you need to implement INTER-VLAN. Okay. So by doing this VLAN and INTER-VLAN, we can maintain the same switch to contain the different network devices. Okay. So steps are simple. You can have VLAN creation, port assignment and trunk setup. So physically you can change the locations of different devices. For example, 10.network can take place on first row and second row as well. Okay. So there won't be any issues. Let's say for example, if you don't have enough space for accounts department PCs in first row. So by creating VLANs on second row for the accounts department, you can add more end devices, more people to sit on the second row and connect to that switch and communicate with the accounts department on first row switch, okay, without any issues. This is the same process. Let's say for example in second row, without creating VLANs, even if you assign IP addresses on end devices with the accounts department IP range, so the result is going to be the same. So it's not going to be a problem if you do that way. But only issue is you need to have a record of end devices and what are the IP addresses you assign for the end devices and what are the ports it's being connected to. Likewise, you need to maintain a big record regarding the port numbers and the end devices IP addresses. So in order to solve that trouble, we are just creating VLANs. So the VLAN database will have each and every record regarding the IP range. For example, let's say if you assign VLAN 20 for 192.168.20.network, you can simply refer the VLAN database. Okay, let's say if it is VLAN 20, you can simply understand the VLAN 20 is for 192.168.20.network. Okay, so this way it's easier for us to understand the IP address and ranges assigned to the switches. Okay. So as in this slide, you can see from switch 1 and switch 2, let's say this belongs to the first row and the other switch belongs to the second row. The end devices on first row for the accounts department, which means the VLAN 2, can communicate with the other VLAN 2 end device on second row or third row, whatever it is. Likewise, the other VLANs also can communicate. So this is what called VLAN to VLAN communication. Okay. But you can't communicate with VLAN 2 to VLAN 3 device. In case if you wish to communicate like that, you need to implement INTER-VLAN setup, which we will be learning in the next session. So now same VLAN devices can communicate even if they are on different physical locations. Okay. The VLAN commands are really simple. Okay. So VLAN creation, to create a VLAN, you simply have to type VLAN and a number and name for that particular VLAN. Here I have used ID. Okay. So when you assign numbers for the VLAN, you can use numbers from 2 to 1001. Okay, because generally VLAN number is for 1 to 1005, and the VLAN number 1 and VLAN number 1002 to 1005, which means 1002, 1003, 1004, 5. All these are reserved VLANs. You can't modify it. So all other remaining VLANs you can use it in your number. Okay, here. So for this, instead of this VLAN 10, you can use any number from number 2 to 1001. So here I have created two VLANs, VLAN 10 and 20, with names IT and HR. After creating the VLAN, I need to assign certain ports on my switch for the particular VLAN. For example, let's say interface range FA 0/5 to 10 means on my switch 5th port to 10th port, I'm assigning it for the VLAN 10. So whenever you connect the end device to the switch, the switch port must be in the access mode. Okay, so that's why we are assigning the next command, switch port mod access, and then switch port access VLAN 10. Likewise for interface range FA 0/11 to 15. Okay, so which means from port number 11 to port number 15 on a switch. So this is a range of ports. So in order to specify a range, you can use the range command. If it is a single port, you don't need to mention this range command. Okay, you can simply go for interface FA 0/10 if you need only the port number 10. Okay, so now here you are having a range of ports, so you are using the range command. Okay, and switch port mod access, switch port access VLAN 20. In packet tracer, this way the command works, and in real environment, in real Cisco switch, I think you must use 11 space dash space 50. Okay, there should be a space in between the dash. Okay, and after the port assignment, you also need to configure trunk setup if there are more switches. For example, let's say if you connect 2 or 3 switches, in between switches, the links must be configured into trunk mode. Okay, switch port mods are 3 types. One is access mode and trunk mode, and the other one is dynamic mode, which we will be learning in the ether channel setup. Okay, so now itself you don't need to worry about that. Just think about the access mode and trunk mode. For end devices, we are using the access mode. For switch to switch, we will be using trunk mode, because in trunk mode only the entire VLAN traffic can travel. No matter the traffic is coming from which VLAN, still each and every VLAN traffic can travel through the trunk mode link. If it is not trunked, then only the VLAN 1 traffic can travel. Okay, VLAN 1 is the default VLAN. Okay, let's say if you forgot to make the link in between switches into trunk mode, then if there is a VLAN 10 traffic, then the switch will drop that particular packet. Okay, it will allow only the VLAN 1 traffic. And for short forms, interface means you can type simply INT, and fast Ethernet means you can simply use FA. Okay, and Ethernet means you can use E. Again, to configure 2 or more ports into trunk mode, you can use the range command, interface range FA 0/23 to 24, switch port mode trunk. Okay, and for port assignment, interface FA 0/5, switch port mode access, switch port access VLAN 10. And for troubleshooting commands, you can simply verify the VLAN database by show VLAN brief. You will see a database for VLAN, and show run commands shows you the interface configurations, and show interface fast Ethernet 0/24 or any other port number with switch port will show you the switch port configuration, and show interface trunk will show you the trunk setup of the link. Okay, what are the interfaces being configured to trunk mode. And to save the configuration, you can go for copy run start and enter for the required confirmation. And also you can use write command or WR and enter. So both are going to do the same work. Okay, it's going to save the configuration. It's going to keep the running configuration setups into the startup configuration. So from RAM to NVRAM. So when you try to configure VLAN after your VLAN setup, you will attach the PCs to the particular port on that particular VLAN. For example, let's say if this is VLAN 100 PC, in this switch there will be a port assigned for VLAN 100. So you are going to connect that end device to the particular port. Okay, here is 0/17. Okay, then the in between switch to switch link you have configured it as a trunk link, and then for the other switch again you are doing the same. Let's say now you have configured VLAN and you are sending data to the other device on the same VLAN 100. Okay, so the process is like the packet will travel to the switch and switch will take the data. For example, let's say the green color is the data. You just think this one is the data, and it will add a tag for that data. For example, from which VLAN it's being sent, the end devices. So it's being sent from VLAN 100. This data together with the tag will travel through the trunk link and reach the other switch. And from that switch, which means the second switch, the tag will be removed. Okay, the switch will read the VLAN tag and it confirms, okay, the data is coming from VLAN 100, so I need to send the data to the VLAN 100. So it will remove the tag and send the data into that particular VLAN 100 device. Okay, so the VLAN tagging happens in between switches. Okay, the end devices doesn't know anything about the VLAN tagging, and also old model switches doesn't know about VLAN. So what it does is it will send the data without tagging. But let's say if the first switch is a old version of CISCO switch, then when the end device sends a traffic for VLAN 100 on other switch side, so this switch, when it receives the data, it will send the data without VLAN tagging. Why? Because this first switch doesn't know anything about VLAN configuration, so it doesn't know how to do the VLAN tagging. So in the trunk link, the data is sent without tagging. Okay, so let's say the other end, the switch knows about VLAN, then it receives the untagged data. Whenever a switch receives the untagged data on trunk link, it will put it in the native VLAN. Okay, which means by default native VLAN is VLAN 1. So it will send the data into the particular port on default VLAN, which means native VLAN port. Okay, so let's build the lab in Packet Tracer. So open your Packet Tracer and take the switch 2960 switch. So I'm taking 3 2960 switches, and we need to connect end devices, laptop, PCs, servers, printers, whatever. Just drag and drop, that's it. So you can organize it in a clear way. So now connect the cables. You can hold Control on your keyboard and select the straight through cable for end device to switches. You can visit our website for the commands in the videos. If you want to purchase other study materials like Packet Tracer files and other course guidelines, then you can email to us. Follow us on Facebook for further updates. Please do like, share, comment and subscribe so I can quickly deliver more videos on various topics.